You're watching The Citizen Report, real, in-depth American.
And welcome to the Citizen Report. I'm John DeShannon. Thank you for joining me tonight. As always, this newscast is real, in-depth American. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always good to be back with you. This is a special broadcast of the Citizen Report because I'm going to be basically recounting what happened on Tuesday night at the Indian Trail Town Council meeting. For those that don't live in North Carolina, that is Indian Trail, North Carolina. Now, before I play the clip, and I'll explain the context of this, of course. Let me briefly bring up what exactly is the subject matter of what happened, basically. So basically, Jonathan Bear is a veteran. He is a resident of Indian Trail. And for years, he's been battling the corruption in Indian Trail. And in this particular case, he was trying to get the town council members to say one by one whether or not they support a particular resolution that was promulgated back in 2020. And this proclamation had to do with George Floyd. Now, the reason why, in part, that he's bringing this up now is because back over the summer, earlier this summer, we had the death of Johnny Hurley, who was killed also by a police officer, but by all accounts, Johnny Hurley was a good Samaritan. And he wanted the town council to vote to honor him. The town council member, any response that he got specifically regarding the matter, basically used the excuse that, oh, well, Johnny Hurley does not have a local connection. Well, neither does George Floyd. So that obviously raises an issue, doesn't it? But of course, in the grander scheme of things, this is very, very minor in comparison to all the other corruption that Jonathan Bear has documented over the years. And I personally, here on the Citizen Report, in my capacity of a news anchor and reporter, I plan to cover Indian Trail more regularly. Obviously not every episode, but wherever it's necessary, wherever it's appropriate, I intend to cover what's been going on in Indian Trail, because I believe it warrants more coverage. So without further ado, I am now going to pull up an email that Jonathan Bear sent to the council members and the mayor of Indian Trail back on August 6th. Now, he's been trying to get in touch with them about Johnny Hurley back over the summer. Now, this particular email deals specifically to the one having to do with George Floyd. So let me read that to you at this point in time. I'm going to pull up my screen for you, and I'm going to read it. This was sent once again on Friday, August 6th, from Jonathan Bear to the council members and the mayor. It looks like he also carbon copied some other people at Indian Trail, and one other person, and I'm not sure off the top of my head. I can't remember who Charles Duncan is, but anyways, there you go. Just putting that out there. And the subject reads, "Public comments by a veteran, 8/10/2021." And the email reads, quote, "Mayor and Town Council, Mr. McLaurin has kindly reminded me that my previous email requesting the mayor to read my comments for public comments was not addressed to the council. Therefore, I'm requesting Mayor Alvarez read the below content of this email verbatim for my public comments on August 10, 2021. Town Council, please answer the following question one by one for your council feedback to public comments. Yes or no? Do you support the Day of Healing Prayer and Reflection proclamation that Mayor Alvarez read on 6/10/2020, which reads in part, quote, whereas I, Mayor of Indian Trail, members of Indian Trail Town Council, and Indian Trail Town staff pause to recognize the senseless and tragic death of George Floyd on May 25, 2020. For the benefit of the viewing audience, be it known, neither the mayor nor the council have been responsive to my emails spanning nearly a month and a half since June, appearing to ignore all of my concerns and recommendations. No one on the council nor staff acknowledged receipt of my email requesting the mayor read my comments nor presented them at 2 meetings. Town staff never answered my question if the mayor read my email for public comments. The mayor never acknowledged nor presented for discussion my recommendation to honor a fallen hero. It appears they have omitted the contents of my previously submitted comments for the minutes to be approved from a previous council meeting where my comments were never acknowledged nor given. For fuller context, the audience may submit a public information request for all emails and communications regarding Jonathan Bear between June and August 11, 2021, because it is public record. Sincerely, Jonathan Bear, Indian Trail veteran. So that is his email, the one that was sent on August 6, 2021. And so there you go. So he is on the record. And of course, if you remember here on the Citizen Report, I did cover this previously. And at the town council meeting earlier this month, not the one this past week, but the one earlier in the month, they did not even acknowledge his email. If there was any discussion about it, it was not public. There was absolutely nothing to mention regarding his email for, officially, I should say. So, as you're going to see in this video, I'm going to play a portion of it that's relevant. You're going to hear the mayor basically read out the policy for public comments. Part of that does include emails. And emails cannot be more than 20 minutes long. So you can submit emails for public comments. So right there, you already see evidence that they are not bringing up his email. So finally, this past week, Jonathan Bear goes to the town council meeting to basically put it to them in person because they will not bring it up apparently in email form. So basically what can be said right then and there is that if they had just read his email, whether or not they agreed to it, whether or not they even made a comment regarding it, if they had just read the email, Jonathan Bear would not have had to have gone this past week. But of course, the mayor accuses him falsely of being a political stunt. No, Jonathan Bear wants a genuine answer as a constituent, as a citizen, as a veteran. So let me pull up for you at this point in time a couple more things before we get to the video. Now this is from, and again, ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear about something. This is public record, so I am not doxing anyone. I am not putting out information that I shouldn't. This is, when you are an elected official in North Carolina, any email that you send or receive, that is public record. There are some exceptions to that, but most generally, it is public record, including what I'm about to share with you. So let me pull this up. This is an email sent from Council Member Jerry Morse to Mayor Alvarez and Jonathan Bear. This is what he said. Mr. Bear, and by the way, this was sent on June 29th of this year, 2021. Mr. Bear, thank you for your email and suggestion. Knowing that I may not be in attendance at the next council meeting, I am forwarding this to the mayor for his benefit and to see if he is willing to craft a resolution to honor John Hurley of Colorado Springs without my support at this time. The reason for my non-support is that I don't believe it's appropriate for the town council to start generating resolutions to honor any citizen who've stepped up and done the right thing for the right reason or reasons for others in other communities that have minimal connections to Indian Trail. Where would it begin or end? If Mr. Hurley has some significant connection to our area, then it will make sense to me to honor him. However, I haven't been able to find anything suggesting that he has a connections to our area. I think it's very important that there is some sort of connection, and if you can find that for me, I will wholeheartedly support a resolution to honor him. I totally support the Second Amendment as written, and I support law enforcement. And I am thankful that Mr. Hurley's heroic actions saved many more countless lives from an idiot brandishing those weapons. I just don't feel it's our place as a town council in Indian Trail, North Carolina, he wrote NC, to insert ourselves into this tragic event. It is good to hear from you. Hope you have a great week. Regards, Council Member Morse. So that was what Council Member Morse had to say back then in June. So very interesting what he said, because once again, we go back to 2020, where they did honor George Floyd, and George Floyd has no local connection. He apparently has an historical connection to Fayetteville, North Carolina, but that is nowhere near here. That is in a whole different part of the state, and so that the local justification also would not be applicable in the case of George Floyd. So at this point in time, let me pull up for you what a couple more things before I get to the video, which I promise is coming very shortly. Let me put this up on screen for my viewing audience. This is basically the I guess it's called minutes from the town of Indian Trail on July 27, 2021. Jonathan Bear, resident, submitted written comments. He had a question regarding a proclamation read by Mayor Alvarez in mid-2020. Well, notice the date, July 27, 2021. There's just one problem with that. According to the public information request made by Jonathan Bear, and by the way, it's misspelled on here, according to the public information request made in early August, early this month, his email was sent July 28, 2021. And I'm going to put that up on screen right now. So his request was made on August 2nd, and I'm going to read to you exactly what he wrote. Specific date and time, the attachment or email referenced by the town clerk was submitted to public comments for the council meeting on July 27, 2021. The reference email was sent on Wednesday, July 28, 2021. Let me say that again, ladies and gentlemen, especially those sitting in the back of the room, figuratively speaking. Right here, Jonathan Bear is saying that the reference email was sent on Wednesday, July 28, 2021. Let me click back to this. Whereas this claims to certify that he had submitted written comments for the meeting on July 27, 2021. Do you see a problem with that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I don't consider myself to be the smartest person in the room, but I can figure out pretty darn quick that there is a big anomaly here. Because Jonathan Bear, in the public information request, is asserting that the reference email was sent July 28. So if the email was sent July 28, how can they certify something that happened in the past, supposedly? Do you see a problem there, ladies and gentlemen? And so what is going on here? I'll leave that to my audience to consider that one. Now, without further ado, I am now going to go to the town council meeting, courtesy of footage provided by the town of Indian Trail from this past week. Let me explain some backstory to this briefly on a personal level. I was invited to come, which I did, in the capacity of a reporter. And you will see here, for full transparency, there's my media credentials right here. So I am a reporter. This is my credentials, official credentials. And I attended the meeting. I was sitting in the back of the room. I was live streaming the town council meeting. In fact, right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is my live feed right here that you can see. That was done by me. And you can see that on your screen. So you're welcome to go to the Citizen Report Facebook page to see that for yourself. So I was in the room, in the back of the room. Jonathan Bear was seated to my right. And he was there from the beginning until following the public comments. After public comments, he left I stayed till the end of the meeting because I personally was curious to see how the rest of the meeting would play out, and I'm glad I did. Because unbeknownst to me at the time, the mayor decided to make certain comments regarding Jonathan Bear that I thought was defamatory, and turns out it is. And I'm going to prove that before the end of this broadcast. So, once again, I was in the room, and I was a witness to all of this. So, I'm going to pull up for you in just a second the tape from the town of Indian Trail, North Carolina, the Indian Trail YouTube channel, I should say. And this is the footage, once again, provided by the town of Indian Trail on their YouTube channel. And so what you're going to hear now is you're going to basically hear it from about where the mayor starts reading the policy concerning public comments. You're then going to hear, I'm not going to play all of it, but you're going to hear the start of both of the public comments that played before, or I should say both of the people. There were 3 people there. There were 2 people ahead of Jonathan Bear, and 2 people that were ahead of him. They did not provide their name or address by mouth to the council. And apparently the council didn't have a problem with that. But when it came time for Jonathan to go up to the podium, they sure had a problem with that. They had a problem with him being there, and they just started harassing him about his name and address, which the other 2 people, they weren't given an issue over. So once again, as you hear these first 2 people, bear in mind, you're not hearing them saying, "Hi, my name is so-and-so." They just launch right into their speech. The closest that they come to doing that is the second person, who just makes basically a reference that I'm continuing on from the previous person, or, you know, making some connection, I guess, to the first speaker, you know, and then he goes on. But once again, you're seeing an arbitrary thing take place here. Jonathan Bear was no different in how he started his speech compared to the other 2, basically. Now, let me explain something else before I get going with this video. Before the meeting started, Jonathan Bear went up to the town clerk, who was seated off to the left-hand side of the screen. She is off screen in this particular camera shot. And I'm going to put up on screen here in just a moment, and I'll just pop it up on screen for a second so you can see it's off screen to the left. The town clerk and the person from the Union County Sheriff's Office is off screen to the left of this camera shot. He went up to the town clerk. He told her, you know, he basically had her put him down for public comments. So after that, she goes back to Jonathan Bear, and I personally saw the piece of paper with his name on it, first and last name, Jonathan Bear. So I am a witness to that. And apparently the mayor just can't keep his foot out of his mouth, because he accuses Jonathan falsely of not providing a name. And ironically enough, it's funny that he seems to know to call on Jonathan, which is rather curious. And at the end of the meeting, he basically insinuated falsely that Jonathan provided an alias or a title or no name, which he did. Jonathan provided his first and last name to the town clerk. The town clerk agreed to put his name down, and so the mayor was caught multiple times this evening, on Tuesday evening, in a lie. He defamed, slandered Jonathan Bear. So, let me just say on a personal level that I knew it would be interesting, and it would be, you know, it would be a learning experience, because I don't go to town council meetings that often, certainly not in Indian Trail. This is actually the first time I attended Indian Trail's council meeting in person. It's been a number of years since I've attended any council meeting anywhere. So this was going to be a learning experience for me. And I did not expect to see such despicable behavior on the part especially of the mayor. And also, sad to say, as much as I would consider myself to be back the blue type of guy, what I saw from the Union County Sheriff's Office was also despicable. He should have exercised more restraint, and he should have also used more discretion, understanding that the mayor was not being reasonable, because once again, how do you know to call on somebody if they're supposedly not on the form? Rather curious, huh? So without further ado, I'm going to start playing where the mayor is reading the policy, and then I'm going to shortly thereafter skip to where Jonathan Bear comes up to the podium. And get ready, folks. Hold on to your hats, because this is going to be quite interesting. So without further ado, let me play this for you, and we'll continue after that.
Is that you, Mr. Chang? Bear with me one moment, please. Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up the public comments. Thank you for your interest in communicating with the Indian Trail Town Board. Comments will be recorded and can be heard on the internet. Please note the following rules when addressing the Indian Trail Town Council. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak to council. Please elect one speaker for groups whenever possible regarding the same message. Comments should be directed to all council members and not to specific individuals. Speakers are to remain respectful with reasonable standards of civility. Anonymous emails will not be read. Written public comments will be read for a restricted period of 20 minutes. Then emails will be noted as opposing or supporting. Any grievances regarding staff should be communicated to the town manager or town attorney and not aired in this forum. Meeting facilitator may discontinue and/or disallow the speaker to continue if rules are violated. And all documents provided will become town property and will be available to the public. Our first speaker, is that you, Mr. Chang? Okay.
Tonight, I'm here before the council and the community to make you aware why we are bringing our perceived acts of discrimination against us to the public's attention. On 4 previous occasions, we asked for a private conversation with the town manager. Our requests for that meeting were met with 2 prerequisites. 1, we had to present questions in advance. Can I signal?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I keep going here, so I just played the start of the first speaker. You'll note that he did not provide his name at the start, yet the mayor knew to call on him. Same thing with the second person. And then the same thing with Jonathan Bear, but for some reason they decided to give him flack over his name and address, even though they knew to call on him. Absolutely despicable behavior on the part of Mayor Alvarez, with all due respect. So let me play the start of the second speaker so you can see how he started, and then we'll get going with, we'll cut to Jonathan Bear's public comments after that.
Our next speaker, is that Burgess? Did I get that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
I too am going to speak on diversity, following up with my uncle, Mr. Chang. We have heard nothing from anyone at the town about connecting either organization to learn about or work being done on local municipalities on diversity, equity, or inclusion. I quote from Joe McKinney, member of the Advisory Council and Executive Director of the National Association of Development Organizations. Equity, inclusion, and diversity are values, not programs or policies. And it's never too late to change or strengthen these values.
I'm going to stop it right there, but you get the idea. Once again, he did not provide his name at the beginning. He did not say, my name is first and last name, whatever it is. But once again, the mayor knew to call on him. He used his last name, which indicates he was on some kind of form. Same thing with Jonathan Bear. And yet, they give him an issue about his name and address. Do you see what the issue is here, ladies and gentlemen? You're going to understand exactly why. Let me tell you something. This may be the most shocking moments you're going to ever see here on the Citizen Report in just a moment's time. This is absolutely shocking and should outrage every veteran in America. Because if this can happen to this veteran, it can happen to any veteran and any citizen in this country. Absolutely despicable behavior. Absolutely despicable behavior. And I'm being fully objective in saying that. I say that with all sincerity, that this behavior on the Mayor Alvarez was so despicable, he should be censored for it. Censured, I should say. You're going to see exactly why here in just a moment. So let's get going here. My blood pressure is already getting up a little bit just thinking about playing this because I know exactly what happened. And for the first time, members of my audience are going to see it here on YouTube, exactly what happened. So without further ado, I'm going to pick it up from the end of the second speaker. You're going to hear the mayor call on Mr. Bear. So his name was on the form, and yet he was accused of not being on the form. Hello? Mayor Alvarez, what's going on? Why, I mean, seriously, why is this so difficult for people to understand? If his name was on the form, then you can't accuse him of not being on the form. Okay, so without further ado, I'm now going to play this for you. And brace yourself and make sure your seatbelt is on tight because this is going to be quite a ride.
Thank you. Jonathan Bear.
So for 2 months, I have been sending emails that have been unresponded to and not even acknowledged. And all I wanted was an answer to a simple question. And so I'm going to read that into the record since the mayor over a month has refused to read this email that I sent to him over a month.
Can you please state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Mayor and town council.
Jonathan, you were asked to state your name and address. Do it, or I'm going to remove you
You know
from
my
town
name.
comments.
You know my
No,
name. It's
state
on the
them.
record. It's already on the record.
Okay, your time is up.
Mr. McLaurin has,
Your time is up.
has informed me that I have to address the whole council. So, town council, please answer the following question one by one.
Jonathan,
For your council feedback to
Jonathan, your
public
time is
comments.
up. Please stop.
Yes or no? Do you support the Day of Healing, Prayer, and Reflection
Jonathan, you're going to
proclamation
stop
that the
or you're
Mayor
going to be removed
Alvarez
from the meeting.
read on 6/19/2020, which reads in part, whereas I, Mayor of Indian Trail, members of Indian Trail Town Council, and Indian Trail Town staff, pause to recognize the senseless and tragic death of George Floyd on May 26, 2020. So, yes or no, do you support that proclamation? Do you support the
Okay,
proclamation?
you know what, Kevin, it's okay. Yes, I support that proclamation of a day of peace and unity
And what about the
that was
rest?
brought forth before the council,
I asked the whole council, and I expect an answer from each one.
if they're willing to answer.
Mayor, this is public comment. There is no.
Well, he's the last one to
requirement.
speak, his time is up, so I'm going to move
All
over
right,
to
if the
council
board's,
comments.
if the board is, if the board
moving-
agrees,
okay.
they can take the.
Your time is up, I'm going to move over to council comment,
I
reply
have
to
no
comments.
I have no comments.
Mike? David?
What is the question, Jonathan?
The question is, yes or no? Do you support the Day of Healing, Prayer, and Reflection proclamation the Mayor Alvarez read on 6/19/2020, which reads in part, whereas I, Mayor of Indian Trail, members of Indian Trail Town Council, and Indian Trail Town staff, pause to recognize the senseless and tragic death of George Floyd.
Okay,
on May
I
25th,
support it.
2020.
I support that, so.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to pause this for one moment so that people understand. There's rules for public comments. Writing your name by not writing your name violates those rules. You're to be acknowledged as transparent as you expect us to be.
I went to sign up, and the town clerk is a witness to it.
He did sign up.
He did sign up?
He requested, that's why I wrote his name, but I asked him if the previous line, the blank line, was him, and I thought he said it was not. That's why I said, ask who that is. But I did write his name down in the fourth line.
Okay. I stand corrected and apologize. This time I'll close public comments. Captain?
What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? The mayor was caught accusing Jonathan on record of something that did not happen. Jonathan Baer's name was on the sign-up sheet. The town clerk said so because she wrote his name down. So that does not make any sense. And going back to what I said earlier, at one point she came back to the back of the room where I was seated. She went past me, and I was close enough to see the document. And to the best of my knowledge and belief, his name was on the document. Obviously, it had to have been that fourth line that she mentioned. And so he did nothing wrong. And of course, in the heat of the moment, I wasn't looking up at the document for the purpose of seeing that his name was on there. But to the best of my belief, it was on there. And she even says she put his name down. Because, and let me say something for emphasis. He did go up to the town clerk before the meeting started, and he was not aware that they had moved the sign-up sheet to the front of the building, which they apparently had done so, because it's been a while since he's done this. So he went up to her before the meeting started. She took care of it, so there shouldn't have been a problem. And it's just like, I'll use an example. It's like when you get something notarized, but let's say someone is handicapped. They can't sign with their name or something. The notary, under North Carolina statute, and other states, I'm sure, have the same policy just about, the notary is authorized to sign in place of the person. So if someone is giving authorization, then that person can sign on that person's behalf. That's exactly what, well, not for the reasons of being handicapped, obviously, but he went up to her, explained the situation, and she got his name on the list. So that should have been the end of it. So what it looks like, as best as I can tell, they just did this as an excuse to harass him. Utterly despicable. Now, you heard there that the mayor did apologize, but what you're fixing to see in just a moment, he decides to put his foot back in his mouth because apparently he can't remember from earlier in the meeting when it was stated very clearly by the town clerk that she put his name on the list. And I'm going to go to that portion right now. And that is near the very end of the meeting. And by this point, Jonathan Baer had left. And this is the part where the town manager concludes his portion of he gives his update, all that stuff. And then we have council comments at the very end. I guess that the mayor just couldn't help it but make up another lie to cover up what he did early on. He should have just accepted that he did something wrong because he had such vitriol against Jonathan Baer. He should have just let that apology be the end of it, and then that's that. But he couldn't do that. And let me say one more time. Again, when the town clerk came past me, I looked up at the document. Now, of course, I was just glancing up for a second. I looked at in the direction of the document. Now, I don't have this perfect photographic memory, but I do believe I saw Jonathan Baer's name on that document. So there was absolutely no reason for this despicable behavior by the mayor. And I'll just go ahead and say Councilmember McIntyre. And by the way, before I go to this clip, I highly doubt they'll be watching this video, but if they happen to be watching this video, anyone from the town of Indian Trail is welcome to come on here and explain themselves. I'll just make that open invitation. Rhetorically speaking, if anybody just happens to watch this, you're welcome to get in touch with me, and I'll bring you on and allow you to explain yourself. But I don't think that this can be defended in any way, shape, or form. I really don't. And I'm being completely objective in saying that. Now let me go to the council comments where the mayor decides to stick his foot back in his mouth.
Nope, I guess you're good.
Mr. McIntyre?
Oh, comments. Meeting lasted a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I think it was a good meeting, good bit of information. I think the next time we meet, what's the next time we meet? September 14th. All right. So I know, Mr. Manager, you just mentioned September 11th. I remember that day very well. It's very vivid in my imagination. I actually, the job that I had at that time required me.
I'm going to go ahead and skip over to the part where the mayor's actually speaking, if I may. I'm just going to go ahead and skip to that at this point in time. And here we go.
Oh man, so, whoever went and
Use titles, subject matter for public comments.
with that, everybody have a good evening.
Mayor Alvarez?
Couple quick things. I just want to clarify something for public comments. It is a requirement of the town of Indian Trail that you write your name and your address and a subject matter that you're going to speak about. And that's fair and transparent for all who come. Certain individuals seem to not want to write their name, want to use phony names, use titles, and skirt the system. It's not fair to everyone else. And the other part of that would be, yes, there was a proclamation of unity and peace that I read and joined in with the rest of Union County in regards to the aftermath of the unfortunate and tragic death of George Floyd. But that wasn't what that email was about. That email was about why was there a proclamation for that and not an individual in Colorado that shot another individual who was going to rob a store and save someone's life. Granted, loss of any life is tragic, and we should honor those who give their lives for anyone else in any other situation. But the Colorado incident was not here, and it was not something brought up from other communities and asked for to join in. Unfortunately, it was not something we even knew about. And to piggyback on Mr. Bear, I'd be more than happy to do a proclamation for all heroes that give their life for others that we don't know about across this nation, across the world, that put themselves in the line of fire for others to save an innocent person, run out in front of a car to save a child, whatever it might be. But unfortunately, we can't honor each individual person. And the cities in Colorado and the state of Colorado honored that individual and honored them appropriately. So sometimes, especially in Indian Trail, when it gets near election time, people tend to want to let the politics get above the content of what's supposed to be going on. And that was that. On another note, unfortunately, Capital Jeep of Indian Trail, who's been a great partner with this town, the owner, Charles Hutto, who's never said no to Indian Trail.
I'm going to stop it right there, ladies and gentlemen. And John Hurley was a good Samaritan by all accounts. He was shot tragically by a police officer. And John Hurley did not have a connection to Indian Trail. He is correct in that way. But George Floyd does not have a tangible connection that we know of to Indian Trail either. So why are they hiding behind, why are they saying that John Hurley, they're not going to make a proclamation because he doesn't have a local connection? I know he said that other communities weren't making it either, but so what? You don't have to follow in lockstep 100% of the time. You know, different towns do different things. You know, some towns, for instance, they decide to make a resolution to be a Second Amendment sanctuary city. Other towns don't. It just depends on which town you're in, or county, I suppose. But so this whole idea that they're not doing it because of not having a local connection, it doesn't hold water. Now, let me say something to be perfectly clear, out of respect for Mayor Alvarez. It's one thing to make a mistake, which he clearly did, by being so antagonistic towards Mr. Bear regarding the name situation, which was started, according to what I've been told, and as can be heard, by Councilmember McIntyre. And it's one thing to make a mistake and realize that mistake and apologize, which he did. However, I do believe that that they were looking for an excuse to shut Mr. Bear down, because you can see from the record they don't like him. And you can go to his YouTube channel, Truth You Can Handle, and you can see clear record of that, you know, throughout the years. But the Mayor Alvarez decided to go ahead and double down and accuse, basically by proxy, in essence, accusing Mr. Bear of putting down an alias or a title, whatever. The town clerk put his name down. And she put his name down because he came up to her and explained the situation, and she put his name down. So that was fine. It should have been the end of it. So what the mayor did, he knew that Mr. Bear wasn't in the room, and I say that because he could have clearly looked out to where Mr. Bear had been sitting earlier on, and he wasn't there anymore. I was still in there, but I was in there in my own right, in the capacity of a reporter. I was there just to see what would go on, and so there you go. So I guess we'll see what happens in the future. By the grace of God, I intend to interview Jonathan Bear in the future. I don't exactly know when that's going to happen, but I would hope that that's going to be soon. And whenever he's ready, I will be more than happy to interview him. And once again, rhetorically speaking, I put out an open invitation to the town of Indian Trail. If anyone should be watching this, you're welcome to come on my broadcast and offer your side, because I want to be fully objective. But I will tell you right now, from what I have seen, there is no justification for what happened on the part of the mayor and the council, especially the mayor. Unbelievable. And again, I thought it was going to be interesting, but to see it go this far, to the point that Mr. Bear was nearly arrested, is unbelievable. This is the United States of America. A mayor does preside over a meeting, but he is not a dictator. He is not a tyrant, or he's not supposed to be a tyrant. He's supposed to be fair to all. And the fact that he would shut down Mr. Bear, even though they could hide behind any reason, such as the name issue and all that, and I've already talked about that, he should have been more discerning and understanding that his name was on there, but clearly there was other agendas in play. It's really disheartening to see this. And I have talked personally with Jonathan Bear, and he has true intentions. He has pure intentions. And to say that this is just some kind of political ploy, ridiculous. Ridiculous. He wants to see John Hurley honored. And so there's a lack of fairness here. You honored George Floyd, who had no local connection, yet you refuse to honor John Hurley. So, and I will just remind my audience that I do intend to interview Jonathan Bear in the near future, I hope. Before I wrap up, let me pull this up for you, for my audience, for your information. I have submitted a public information request to the Town of Indian Trail as of this afternoon, where I am formally requesting a photo, and I'm going to read the exact quote of what I'm requesting. Photocopy of the sign-up sheet for those signing up to make public comments at the Indian Trail Town Council meeting of August 24, 2021. Also, if any other written records related to public comments directly and indirectly of the same meeting for August 24, 2021. So hopefully within the appropriate time frame, I will receive the sign-up sheet, and if any other record should exist, that as well, regarding public comments. And I'm all about being objective, but I can say in all modesty, in all objectivity, that what happened by the mayor was despicable. They have a veterans memorial out front, by the way, and yet this is how they treat a veteran in flesh and blood before them. Is this how they want to be perceived? I'll leave that to you to decide. On that note, that is the end of this broadcast of the Citizen Report by the grace of God. As I say before, and I truly mean this, to God alone be the glory. God bless each and every one of you. And please don't forget to sign up or like the Citizen Report on Facebook, also on stinger.live. And also, the Citizen Report, by the grace of God, now has a brand new domain address, URL address, and it is thecitizenreport.net. I shall repeat that again. That is thecitizenreport.net. On that note, God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for watching the Citizen Report. And by the grace of God, I will see you right back here again next time. Have a great night, everyone.